First contact. The space station orbited silently above Earth, its observation deck offering a spectacular view of the blue planet below. Captain Jack Warren stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the diplomatic team prepared for the most important meeting in human history. "They're arriving, sir," said Lieutenant Lisa Wright, her voice barely containing her excitement. Jack nodded. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally found advanced alien life. The Ziraxian scout ship had been detected near Saturn 3 months ago, leading to careful, measured communications, and eventually this face-to-face meeting. "Remember," Jack told his team, "we represent all of Earth today." The airlock cycled open with a hiss. The Ziraxians entered the chamber with fluid grace. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with iridescent blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the station lights. Their 4 eyes, too large, too small, scanned the room with obvious intelligence. Ambassador Olivia Martinez stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we welcome you to our home system." The lead Ziraxian, introduced as Emissary Krell, made a gesture that their translators interpreted as acknowledgement. "The Ziraxian Empire acknowledges your greeting, humans of Earth." The meeting proceeded with careful exchanges of information. The humans learned that the Ziraxians controlled over 300 star systems in a vast empire. Their civilization had been spacefaring for nearly 5,000 years. "We are pleased to discover new intelligent life," said Emissary Krell, though something in his tone made Jack uneasy. "Your species shows potential." Jack noticed the slight hesitation, the subtle shift in the translator's rendering of the alien speech. He glanced at Nathan Brooks, their intelligence officer, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. He had caught it too. 3 weeks later, Jack's concerns were confirmed. He sat in a secure briefing room as Nathan displayed data from deep space monitoring stations. "They're not just explorers," Nathan explained, pointing to movement patterns on the star map. "The Ziraxians have been systematically expanding their territory for centuries. Every new species they encounter either joins their empire or—" He didn't need to finish the sentence. "Ambassador Martinez needs to establish clear boundaries," Jack said firmly. The diplomatic team tried. Over the next several months, Olivia Martinez worked tirelessly to establish peaceful relations, while clearly marking Earth's territorial claims. The Ziraxians listened politely but treated humans with growing condescension. "You must understand," Krell told Olivia during their 5th meeting, "your species is still quite primitive by our standards. Your protection is a gift the Empire might bestow." When Earth insisted on maintaining independence and establishing firm boundaries around nearby star systems, the Ziraxian responses grew colder. Captain Warren found himself recalled to Earth for an emergency meeting with the newly formed Earth Defense Council. Admiral William Carter, a stern-faced veteran, led the session. "The Ziraxians have dismissed every boundary proposal we've offered," Admiral Carter explained to the assembled military leaders. "Their ships are now conducting surveys just beyond Mars." "They're testing us," Jack said, "seeing how we'll respond." The final warning came when Earth's monitoring stations detected Ziraxian ships establishing what appeared to be a military outpost in the asteroid belt. Ambassador Martinez delivered Earth's formal protest directly to the Ziraxian Emperor Vorlak during a tense subspace communication. The Emperor's 4 eyes narrowed as he listened to her carefully worded message. "Your concerns are noted, Ambassador," the Emperor finally replied. "But the Empire expands as it wishes. You would be wise to accept our protection rather than resist it." The transmission ended. Minutes later, Earth's Intelligence Division intercepted a broadcast from the Emperor to his commanders. "These barely spacefaring mammals presume to challenge us." Vorlak's laughter echoed through the command center. "They will learn their place in the galaxy soon enough." Jack Warren watched the recording with a grim expression. "They're making a mistake," he said quietly. "They think we're weak because we're young." Admiral Carter nodded. "Then let's prepare to educate them." The warning. "The Ziraxians are expanding in a predictable pattern," Samantha Reeves explained. her finger tracing lines across the holographic star map. They always follow the same approach: establish outposts, claim resources, then move military assets into position. Admiral William Carter nodded, his weathered face grave as he studied the display. Representatives from every nation on Earth had gathered in the underground command center beneath Geneva. The formation of the Earth Alliance was only 3 weeks old, but already it represented humanity's unified response to the growing threat. And their weaknesses? Carter asked. Samantha highlighted several sections of a captured Xeraxian vessel schematic. Their ships are powerful but inflexible. They haven't needed to innovate for centuries because they've never faced serious opposition. In the laboratory section of the facility, scientist Greg Pearson worked tirelessly with his team. The captured Xeraxian technology had revealed vulnerabilities in their shield systems. The frequency modulation is the key, Greg explained to the visiting admiral. Their shields can't adapt quickly to changing energy signatures. He activated a small prototype that pulsed with blue light. This shield changes frequencies 50 times per second. Their weapons would struggle to penetrate it. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Heather Morris knelt in the red dust of Mars, her stealth suit matching the terrain perfectly. Through high-powered optics, she observed the Xeraxian outpost that had appeared just days ago. Her small reconnaissance team had been recording ship movements, communication patterns, and security protocols. They're arrogant, she whispered into her secure communicator. Minimal security sweeps, predictable patrol patterns. They don't expect resistance. Back on Earth, Ambassador Olivia Martinez prepared for what might be her final diplomatic mission. The Council had agreed, one last attempt at peace before humanity committed to defending itself. The boundary markers are non-negotiable, she practiced in front of her team. Earth claims the solar system to the Kuiper Belt, with buffer zones extending to the nearest 5 star systems. The Xeraxian diplomatic vessel gleamed like burnished metal as it hovered above the neutral meeting station. Inside, Emperor Vorlak's representative, Sub-Commander Jektel, received the human delegation with barely concealed disdain. "You present demands?" Jektel asked, his translator conveying his amusement. "The Empire acknowledges no boundaries it does not set itself." Olivia stood tall despite being dwarfed by the alien diplomat. "These are not demands, but warnings. Humanity will defend its territory." The Xeraxian delegation erupted in what humans had learned was laughter, a vibrating, humming sound that filled the chamber. "With what?" Jektel asked. "Your primitive vessels, your chemical propulsion systems. The Empire has conquered species far more advanced than yours." "We have studied your history," Olivia replied calmly. "Every species you've encountered either surrendered immediately or fought conventionally. Humanity will do neither." For a moment, uncertainty flickered across Jektel's alien features. Later that day, the Xeraxian War Council convened aboard their command vessel. The recording of the meeting was intercepted by Earth's newly enhanced communications array. "The humans speak of resistance," Jektel reported. "They claim to have identified weaknesses in our systems." Emperor Vorlak's image dominated the central display. "Have they demonstrated any technology that concerns you?" "No, Emperor. Their ships are primitive, their weapons ineffective against our shields." "Then their warning is merely the posturing of a species realizing its insignificance," the Emperor declared. "Proceed with the establishment of the mining colony on their Mars. Ignore their boundary claims." Unknown to the Xeraxians, Admiral Carter watched this transmission with his senior staff. He turned to his officers, determination hardening his features. "They've made their choice," he said quietly. "Activate Defense Initiative Alpha. All ships to combat readiness. Lieutenant Morris's team will remain in position. And get me Captain Warren. His ship will be our first line of defense." Across Earth, hidden shipyards hummed with activity as vessels unlike any humans had built before prepared for launch. The Empire had laughed at humanity's warning. That laughter would soon fade. Preparation. Fleet Commander Peter Hayes walked through the massive underground shipyard. his footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. Above him, the hull of the Interceptor gleamed under bright lights. Unlike the bulky exploration vessels of yesterday, this ship was sleek and purposeful. "How many completed?" he asked the chief engineer beside him. 37 battle-ready ships, sir. Another 42 will be finished within the week." Peter nodded with satisfaction. The Earth Alliance had worked around the clock since the failed diplomatic mission. What the Ziraxians didn't understand was humanity's greatest strength: adaptation under pressure. In another section of the complex, Dr. Laura Winters calibrated a weapon that didn't look impressive but represented a breakthrough in military technology. The pulse modulator changes frequencies faster than their shields can adapt, she explained to the observers. "We've studied the debris from their scout ship that malfunctioned near Jupiter." She activated the weapon. A beam of energy struck the sample of Ziraxian hull material, causing it to glow bright red before a section melted completely. "Their materials can't handle rapid energy fluctuations," Laura continued. "Their technology has stagnated because they've never needed to innovate." Meanwhile, tactical specialist Daniel Hudson trained pilots in simulation chambers. The scenarios displayed combat situations unlike anything in conventional warfare. "Forget everything you know about formation flying," Daniel instructed. "The Ziraxians expect us to engage them directly. We won't. Hit and fade. Never present a target. Use their size against them." The pilots, the best Earth had to offer, absorbed these lessons with intense focus. Traditional dogfighting wouldn't work against the Empire's ships. They needed new approaches. On the colony world of Mars, Major Catherine Morgan supervised the installation of hidden defense platforms. To orbital scans, they appeared as simple mining equipment. In reality, they housed weapons designed by Dr. Winters. "Bury them deeper," Catherine ordered. "I want nothing visible from orbit." The Ziraxian outpost on the other side of Mars had grown into a small base. They conducted their operations with casual confidence, never suspecting the humans were watching their every move and learning their procedures. Back on Earth, engineer Frank Cooper made final adjustments to the propulsion system that would give humanity its one true advantage. "The phase shift drive doesn't move through space conventionally," he explained to Admiral Carter. "It briefly shifts the ship partially out of normal spacetime, allowing for movements the Ziraxians can't track or predict." Admiral Carter studied the complex equations on the display. "Will it work?" Frank nodded confidently. "We've tested it on the smaller vessels. The Ziraxians won't know what hit them." In the command center, intelligence officers monitored Ziraxian communications. Their expressions grew serious as a decoded message appeared on screen. "Sir," called out the lead officer to Admiral Carter, "the Ziraxian battle group has crossed the Jupiter orbital line. 7 heavy cruisers and support vessels." Carter's face remained impassive, but determination flashed in his eyes. "They're earlier than expected. Status of our fleet." "The first battle group is ready, Admiral. Captain Warrens Defiant leads the response force." Carter activated the global communication system. His voice reached every hidden base and shipyard across Earth and the colonies. "This is Admiral Carter. The Ziraxian fleet has crossed our outer boundary. Defensive positions, all units. First response group to launch stations. Across the solar system, men and women moved with purpose. The moment they had prepared for had arrived. On Mars, Catherine's team activated the hidden defense grid. In orbit, the small but deadly Earth vessels powered their systems. Dr. Winters' weapons charged silently. As the Ziraxian fleet moved confidently through the solar system, humanity's trap was set. The Empire believed they would face primitive technology and conventional tactics. They expected surrender or a futile direct confrontation. They would receive neither. First strike. The Ziraxian vanguard fleet moved through the asteroid belt with arrogant confidence. Their massive ships dwarfed anything humans had previously built, bristling with weapons that could reduce a planet to molten slag. Primitive species always surrender when they see our full might. Commander Director of the Xeraxian flagship Invincible remarked to his officers. These humans will be no different. What appeared on their sensors was exactly what they expected. A handful of Earth vessels moving to intercept. Too few and too small to pose any real threat. The lead human ship, identified as Defiant, was barely a quarter the size of the Invincible. They send toys to fight us, Director laughed. Prepare to capture their vessels. The Emperor wishes to study their technology, however primitive. Aboard the Defiant, Commander Elijah Patterson watched the approaching Xeraxian fleet with steady eyes. His crew worked quietly at their stations, each movement practiced to perfection. All ships in position, his communications officer reported. Phase shift drives charged and ready. Elijah nodded. Send the signal to Major Morgan's team on Mars. Then notify all vessels. Execute Battle Plan Omega on my mark. The Xeraxian fleet formed a standard attack formation, spreading out to envelop the small group of Earth ships. Their weapons charged, targeting systems locked on the human vessels. They're not retreating, Director observed with surprise. Perhaps they wish to surrender in person. At that moment, Elijah gave the command, Mark. The Earth vessels disappeared from Xeraxian sensors. Where are they? Director demanded, his four eyes widening in alarm. The answer came seconds later as the Defiant and its escort ships reappeared, not in front of the Xeraxian fleet, but among them. The phase shift drives had allowed them to bypass conventional space, emerging at predetermined coordinates throughout the enemy formation. Fire, Elijah ordered calmly. Dr. Winter's weapons activated simultaneously across all Earth vessels. Rather than the explosive impacts the Xeraxians expected, the weapons emitted rapidly oscillating energy fields that simply bypassed the Imperial shields. Aboard the Invincible, systems began failing as the energy disrupted their technology. Shields flickered and died. Weapons went offline. Confusion spread across the command deck. Impossible, Drektar shouted. Target their vessels with all functioning weapons. But the Earth ships vanished again, phase-shifting to new positions before Xeraxian targeting systems could lock on. As the Imperial fleet struggled to respond to this unconventional attack, a new threat emerged. Lieutenant Commander Sophia Allen led 3 squadrons of fighter craft from hiding places within the asteroid belt. These small, agile vessels had been invisible to Xeraxian sensors, powered down until the moment of attack. All squadrons, attack pattern Delta, Sophia commanded. Target their propulsion systems and communication arrays. The fighters swarmed around the Imperial vessels like angry bees, their weapons precisely targeting vulnerable points identified by Lieutenant Morris' reconnaissance team. Unlike traditional fighters, these craft employed the same phase shift technology as the larger vessels, appearing and disappearing too quickly for the Xeraxians to track. Commander Director attempted to coordinate a response, but Earth's decentralized command structure defied Imperial tactics. There was no flagship to target, no command center to destroy. Each Earth vessel operated with tactical independence while following the overall strategy. The Conqueror is disabled, Commander, a Xeraxian officer reported frantically. The Dominance has lost all weapons capabilities. We've lost communication with 3 support vessels. In 20 minutes of combat, the seemingly invincible Xeraxian vanguard fleet was in disarray. The Invincible itself drifted powerless, its systems compromised by precisely targeted attacks. Commander Elijah Patterson's voice came through on all Xeraxian communication channels. This was a warning. Retreat beyond the boundary we established, or the next engagement won't be so limited. Across the solar system, hidden Earth defenses stood ready if the Xeraxians chose to continue fighting. But the Imperial fleet, for the first time in centuries, did the unthinkable. They retreated. On the distant Xeraxian homeworld, Emperor Vorlak received the news with stunned disbelief. His expression darkened as the battle recordings played before him. The humans hadn't just fought. They had humiliated the Imperial vanguard with tactics the Empire had never encountered. Impossible, the Emperor whispered. Prepare the main battle fleet. Imperial response. The Zeraxian capital world blazed with activity. Warships of all sizes filled orbital docks as the Empire mobilized its main battle fleet. Emperor Vorlak had issued a rare Imperial command. The humans would be taught the cost of defiance. 300 ships, Grand Admiral Zexkor announced to the War Council, the largest fleet assembled in a century. The Emperor's 4 eyes narrowed. It appears we underestimated these humans. A mistake I will not tolerate happening twice. On Earth, Admiral Charles Bishop coordinated humanity's response from the orbital command station, Vigilant. Holographic displays showed the movement of Zeraxian forces throughout neighboring systems. They're gathering a massive fleet, Bishop noted, far larger than anything we faced before. Maria Rodriguez, the communications specialist who had been studying Zeraxian transmissions for months, approached with a data tablet. "Sir, we've intercepted their battle plans. Their encryption was complex, but we managed to break it." Bishop studied the information, a slight smile forming. They still think conventionally. They plan to overwhelm us with superior numbers and firepower. "Will that work?" asked his executive officer. "It would if we fight the way they expect," Bishop replied. "But we won't." The Admiral turned to the strategic display. "Have all colony worlds activate defensive protocols, especially the ones that appear undefended. In the Proxima Centauri system, Earth's first extrasolar colony appeared vulnerable. When Zeraxian scout ships performed reconnaissance, they detected minimal defenses and outdated weapon systems. The colony's few visible ships were older models, seemingly easy targets. What they didn't detect were the sophisticated sensor jammers developed by Earth engineers, hiding the true nature of the colony's defenses. They took the bait, Captain Ryan Nelson reported from his hidden command post beneath the colony's surface. Zeraxian scouts completed their survey. They think we're defenseless. 2 days later, a Zeraxian battle group entered the Proxima Centauri system. 30 ships, led by Commander Virakath, approached the human colony with confidence. "No significant defenses detected," Virakath noted with satisfaction. "Begin standard conquest formation. Demand their surrender before we disable their infrastructure." As the Imperial ships moved into position, the trap was sprung. Hidden defense platforms activated throughout the system. Mines with phase shift technology, invisible to Zeraxian sensors, materialized around their vessels. Captain Nelson's strike force emerged from concealed positions in the planet's rings. "All units engage," Nelson ordered. Execution pattern Epsilon. The battle unfolded according to Earth's carefully designed plan. The Zeraxians found themselves caught in overlapping fields of fire, unable to coordinate effectively against enemies that appeared and disappeared from their sensors. They adapt quickly. An Imperial officer warned as human ships employed new tactics, different from those used in the solar system. Commander Virakath's flagship shuddered as precision strikes disabled its primary systems. "Impossible. How are they penetrating our shields?" The answer came too late for the Imperial forces. Earth scientists had analyzed the data from the first battle and further refined their weapons. The modulation patterns had been changed specifically to counter adjustments the Zeraxians had made. The humans knew we were coming, Virakath realized as his fleet crumbled around him. This was a trap. As the battle concluded, only 7 damaged Zeraxian vessels escaped to carry news of the defeat. Captain Nelson's forces had suffered minimal casualties. On the Zeraxian homeworld, Emperor Vorlak received the news of this second defeat with cold fury. The War Council chamber fell silent as military leaders awaited his response. "They predict our moves," the Emperor finally said. "They understand our tactics. They are more dangerous than any species we have encountered," Grand Admiral Zexkor admitted. "Perhaps we should reconsider." "No," Vorlak interrupted. "We will not be humiliated by primitives. Deploy the main fleet. All of it. We will crush these humans with overwhelming force." The Imperial leaders bowed in acknowledgement, but doubt had begun to creep into their confidence. The Empire had never faced an enemy that fought like the humans, adaptive, unpredictable, and seemingly always one step ahead. Unknown to them, Maria Rodriguez was already decrypting their new battle plans, and Admiral Bishop was preparing humanity's response. The turning point. The Zeraxian War Council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. Grand Admiral Zexkor pointed to the holographic display showing the damage reports from 2 major defeats. "We have lost 63 ships and thousands of crew members," he reported. "The humans do not fight like any species we have encountered before." Emperor Vorlak paced with agitation. How can primitives defeat the greatest military force in the galaxy? An older Zeraxian, Science Director Kelvash, spoke carefully. "We may have misjudged them. They are young as a species, but they adapt with remarkable speed." "They are insects," the Emperor shouted. "Insects with clever tricks. Insects that have twice defeated our best commanders," Zexkor reminded him. "We must acknowledge the threat they pose." Far from this meeting, Lieutenant Olivia Garrison led her 6-person team through the ventilation system of a Zeraxian command post. Earth's leadership had made a bold decision. While the Empire gathered its forces, human stealth teams would infiltrate key Imperial facilities. "Security sensors disabled," whispered Specialist Joe Bennett. "We have 12 minutes before the system resets." Olivia nodded. Her team moved with practiced precision, placing small devices at crucial junction points throughout the facility. These devices, no larger than a fingernail, would remain dormant until activated. "Lightning seeds planted," she reported through a secure quantum communicator that the Zeraxians couldn't detect. Moving to extraction point. Similar teams operated throughout Imperial territory, some on ships, others on space stations and planetary bases. The Zeraxians, accustomed to fighting conventional wars, had never considered such infiltration possible. Meanwhile, Admiral Bishop coordinated with leaders of 3 other species who had contacted Earth after news of the human victory spread. "The Nilari were conquered 50 years ago," explained Ambassador Kent Douglas. "The Thrall and Vosarians even longer. They've all offered to join our cause." Bishop viewed the star map showing the territories of these potential allies. "The Empire has been expanding for centuries. We're not the first to resist, just the first to succeed. The oppressed species are watching us," Kent noted. "Our victories give them hope." In space, the massive Imperial fleet assembled for what Emperor Vorlak called the final solution to the human problem. 300 warships, including the super-dreadnought Imperial Might, moved toward Earth's territory. Captain Ryan Nelson's scout vessels tracked their approach. "They've committed almost everything, Admiral, just as we predicted." Bishop nodded. "Execute Lightning Protocol." Across Imperial space, the devices planted by Olivia's team and dozens of others activated simultaneously. The Lightning Protocol wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a sophisticated information warfare attack. Imperial communications collapsed. Navigation systems showed false information. Command ships lost contact with their fleets. "What is happening?" Emperor Vorlak demanded as reports of the chaos flooded in. Before his commanders could respond, Admiral Bishop's fleet struck the Imperial shipyards at Zerax Prime. With most of the defensive forces committed to the Earth invasion, the shipyards were vulnerable. "Target their construction facilities," Bishop ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. We want to minimize casualties." Earth ships, using their phase shift technology, appeared directly among the Imperial defenses. The carefully planned attack crippled the Empire's ability to replace its losses. On many Imperial worlds, the subjugated species saw their opportunity. Rebellions erupted as news of Earth's success spread. The Nilari, Thrall, and Vosarians turned against their Zeraxian overlords. Emperor Vorlak received reports of uprising from 27 systems. His once invincible empire was fracturing around him. "This cannot be happening," he whispered. Grand Admiral Zexkor faced his emperor directly. "We must withdraw the main fleet to crush these rebellions. We cannot fight on so many fronts. And concede to the humans. Vorlak's voice rose in anger. "We have no choice," the Admiral replied firmly. "The War Council agrees. If we continue this course, we may lose everything." For the first time in living memory, a Xeraxian emperor was being defied by his own military leadership. The turning point had come, not just in the war with humanity, but in the history of the Empire itself. On Earth, Admiral Bishop received the news with quiet satisfaction. "The final phase begins," he told his commanders. "Prepare for the Battle of Xerax Prime." Resolution. The flagship Vindication emerged from phase shift near Xerax Prime, leading the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Captain Jack Warren, who had first contacted the Xeraxians months ago, now returned as commander of Earth's primary battle group. "All ships report ready, Captain," his executive officer announced. Jack studied the massive Xeraxian homeworld on the main screen. "Open a channel to Admiral Bishop." The Admiral's face appeared on the display. "The diplomatic team is standing by, Captain. Your mission is to secure the space around Xerax Prime and ensure their safe passage to the surface." "Understood, sir. And if we face resistance?" "Disable, don't destroy. We're here to end this war, not perpetuate it." The rebellions across the Empire had forced many Xeraxian ships to abandon their positions, but a significant defensive force still protected their homeworld. As Earth's fleet approached, Xeraxian vessels moved to intercept. "Incoming transmission," reported the communications officer. Grand Admiral Zexcor's alien features appeared on screen. "Captain Warren, I speak with the authority of the War Council. We request terms." Jack maintained a neutral expression despite his surprise. "Our ambassador will present our terms directly to your leadership. We request safe passage to the surface." "The Emperor has been removed from power," Zexcor revealed. "The War Council now governs. We will provide escort to the surface." The Battle of Xerax Prime became known as the battle that never happened. Human ships, accompanied by Xeraxian escorts, entered orbit without firing a shot. On the surface, Ambassador Olivia Martinez led the Earth delegation into the massive Imperial Palace. Representatives from the Nilari, Thrall, and Vosarians accompanied her, former subjects of the Empire now standing as equals. "We offer the Galactic Concordat," Olivia announced to the assembled Xeraxian leadership, "a framework for peace that respects the boundaries and independence of all species." Science Director Kelavash, now leading the War Council, studied the document carefully. "You do not demand reparations or territory. We want peace, not conquest," Olivia explained. "Earth has no interest in building an empire of our own." The negotiations lasted 3 days. When they concluded, the Xeraxian Empire had formally acknowledged Earth's territorial claims and recognized the independence of 17 formerly subject species. "You fought differently than any adversary we have faced," Grand Admiral Zexcor told Captain Warren during the signing ceremony. "Not just with different weapons, but with different thinking." Jack nodded. "Humanity has spent more time fighting itself than exploring space. We learned long ago that superior numbers and technology don't guarantee victory." "A painful lesson for us to learn," the Admiral admitted. 6 months later, Lieutenant Commander Sophia Allen and Captain Ryan Nelson supervised the first cultural exchange program between humans and Xeraxians. A group of young Xeraxians arrived on Earth to study human history and innovation, while human scientists and diplomats traveled to Xerax Prime. "They're still struggling to understand us," Ryan observed as they watched the Xeraxian students explore a museum of Earth history. Sophia smiled. "And we're still learning about them. That's how it should be." In Geneva, Admiral Bishop met with Earth's leadership to discuss the rapidly changing galactic landscape. The former imperial territories were reorganizing, with many joining a new federation modeled partly on Earth's own United Nations. "We've gone from near invasion to becoming a major power in the galaxy," noted President Susan Carroll, "all because we refused to fight on their terms." Bishop nodded thoughtfully. The Xeraxians had conquered hundreds of worlds by forcing everyone to fight the same way they did. When we changed the rules, their entire strategy collapsed. "And the future?" asked a council member. "Challenging," Bishop answered honestly. "Many species look to us for leadership now. We need to help build something better than what the Empire created. A community of worlds rather than subjects under a single power." On Xerax Prime, a monument was erected where the signing took place. Inscribed in both human and Xeraxian languages was a simple message that captured the lesson of the conflict. The strongest empires are not those that command obedience, but those that earn respect. The Xeraxian Empire had laughed at humanity's warning. That laughter had faded, replaced by a newfound respect for the young species that had changed the course of galactic history not through overwhelming force, but through innovation, adaptation, and the courage to fight differently.